Good afternoon and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this afternoon. Brendan Rodgers has spoken to the media, and it was another interview with Brendan Rodgers where he's asked about the transfers, and there's no one new incoming. That's the main take from the media conference today, is there is no new players imminent at Celtic. A lot of people will be a little bit peed off with it. But the good news from today, and I think it's a fantastic piece of news. People will say it's not I think it's a great deal because Johnny Kenny has the potential to be better than Adam Idah, and I've said that for a long time. I think that Johnny Kenny, depending on how the transfer window goes, I think Johnny Kenny will be put out on loan. But Celtic were delighted to announce that Johnny Kenny has signed an extension to his contract that will run until 2029. He joined from Sligo Rovers on a 5-year deal in January 2022, spent time on loan at Queen's Park and then back at Shamrock Rovers. He scored his first goal against Aberdeen, cracking header, remember? Boomf! Into the back of the net. In Pittodrie in May last season, speaking to Celtic TV, he spoke of his happiness. He did say during the summer, during the pre-season camp, that it's a deal that was going to be done easy. He did say that he wanted to sign a new deal with Celtic when he was asked early in pre-season, and the manager also said that it was a deal that he wanted to get done. Now, getting him signed up to 2029 for me is a fantastic piece of business for Celtic. We moan about young players leaving the club that have come through the academy. Although Johnny Kenny didn't come through the academy, he's a young player that's committed himself to the future of the club. Now, whether he goes out on loan to get some game time, it remains to be seen. That will all depend on what happens between now and the end of the transfer window. I still think that Brendan Rodgers and the backroom staff, the ideal plan would be to put him out on loan at a higher level than what he's been out before, to get some game time and to progress as a player. It's a brilliant asset to have. I think it's a fantastic deal. Tell me what you think in the comments. He said that he feels really proud. He spoke to the manager at the start of the summer, and it was a case of trying to get it all together. It was all about timing. We were obviously away on the pre-season camp. He says, I think that I can score goals. The manager believes in me too. The manager believes that it's a fantastic asset that we've signed up. And that's it. I think it is also. He went on to say that the young lad, I want to achieve everything possible at this club. I want to play Champions League football, to win every trophy and score goals. That is my aim. It's a proud moment when you come to the club, and you've got to thank the club for giving me the opportunity. I want to repay them over the next few years on the pitch. I can only say thank you to everyone, my family, my friends, the supporters that have given me so much in the last few years. And let's hope for more success at this football club. Brendan Rodgers says that he was really pleased with the new contract for Johnny. He's a young player who believe will have a big future at Celtic. I think that he has the potential to be a Lee Griffiths type player for the club. And that's just my opinion. But I think he has the potential. I don't think that we've seen anyone since Griffiths, for his movement. Send Adam Idah out on loan, give young Kenny more game time. I think that it'll be the young lad that goes out on loan. This lad's got a big future at Celtic, and the fact that Celtic, he could potentially become a £20+ million player, given the right game time, and if he just goes, if everything just clicks into place for him, he could be a £20 million player for Celtic. You've got to remember, he is just a young lad, and I think it's brilliant for the club. He loves the club, he's hungry, he's focused for doing well for us, and he made some important contributions with goals towards the end of last season. The fact that Brendan Rodgers sees it as a major asset, and he is a major asset, he's one for the, you could say he's one for now, but you don't want to get him burnt out. He's one for the future. Having him on that long contract to 2029, it does one of two things. Look, you had Bolton that offered 500 grand for him with a year left on his contract. Celtic said, no, we'll take $1 million. Now it'll take a lot more than £1 million to get Johnny Kenny. Look what just happened with the young player Ben Doak that went down to Liverpool, and Liverpool are now wanting rid of him for 20 million. due to the length of the contract he's got, and that's it. It's as simple as that. It's about time that Celtic started acting for the best interest of young players at Celtic, and it's great to have a young player that is so committed to staying at the club and want to do well with Celtic. That's all I can say for it. Wouldn't get a game. You can tell by his interview he really wants to be at Celtic. It's refreshing. It is refreshing. I think it's a fantastic deal. The club supporters will. The club has shown they're not making any more. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. I love. Well, can I get a 4-year deal? You can tell that it's. He really wants to be at the club. It's very refreshing. I think it's refreshing. I think it's a great piece of business by Celtic, and make sure that you've got a striker that's going to be a fantastic striker well after Brendan Rodgers has left the club. So yeah. What's going on with the Celtic board related to the Whites and Kellys? No, Brendan Rodgers did say to the media today that there is no imminent. He did give a warning, and he said it's very clear that we need to improve. There's a lot of work going on in the background. He did say that there was a lot of work that he did mention Paul Tisdale and his team are doing in the background. What that is, we're unsure, because it seems to be the case that we seem to be putting in offers for players well below the valuation. Brendan Rodgers did say that the board, who have run the club fantastically well over the years, want to get best value for money for the club. They want to bring players in, but they also want to get value for money. They obviously feel that they didn't get value for money for a couple of players last season. But it is what it is. We're hoping we can conclude deals to improve the squad, said Brendan Rodgers. I think the board have shown over many years, and a number of years, that the work will get done. Obviously, as a group, the club have run so well for many years as a group. He's talking about the collective of Peter Lawwell's little clique that's in the club, isn't he? For people to say that Peter Lawwell doesn't have nothing to do with it, well, they all answer to Peter at the end of the day. And people could say that Peter has nothing to do with it. Ultimately, the club will be run in a way that makes us both, gives us the best players and the best value there to be made, said Brendan. Celtic have made 7 signings this summer, with the manager repeatedly stating the need for more players in the forward areas. Asked if he's going to have players in before the end of the window or before the Champions League qualifiers, he wasn't too sure about that, was he? But he did say that ultimately the club will have hoped to improve over the course of the transfer window, which I think it's just oh, Chris, don't say that. If Kenny get a new contract, they will cash in on him. I don't think they'll cash in on him this summer. They're not going to cash on him this summer. He's one that he'll get some game time against Aberdeen this weekend, and then I think he will be shipped. If we can get 2 wingers in, and if we can get another striker in of equality, you'll see Johnny Kenny get put out on loan, because Callum Osmond will need to get some game time. 7 signings, how many of them are proven quality? Tierney, that's it, said Chris M. The thing is, Haddle's just absolutely over the moon with it. 7 signings under 4 million. Yeah, it is. It's not the best of windows, but let's face it, Celtic may pull a rabbit out of the bag and they may go in big style with a couple of players between now and the end of the window. You don't know. The fact that Johnny Kenny Celtic made a big deal out of it that Johnny Kenny's been given that extended contract to 2029. For me, I think it's a good bit of business. But Brendan Rodgers, and the reality is hitting home that it doesn't look like we're going to get any new signings in next week. Now, Celtic do have until the 14th, which is next week, to get players in. Will we get in players before the Champions League team has to be placed, and I think they're going to have to keep Johnny Kenny. Johnny Kenny will not go out on loan until after the 2 Champions League qualifying matches has been played. So everything's going to calm down, I think, and it's going to be a mad rush. It's going to be typical Celtic style, so we better just buckle up, settle down, enjoy the games that are going to be this month, because there will be a rush of activity from the 29th of August to the 1st of September. Johnny Kenny will get put out on loan to, I think he's still get put out on loan to Bolton. They are still interested in him, so it'll be interesting just to see what activity does happen and how many players Brendan Rodgers will get in. His honest answer today was the fact that, listen, it was a good deal for that player. He's a fantastic player for us, but we still need more players in. Celtic are holding out for Slovan Bratislava to win the next round, because a 7,000 mile round trip, 5 hours time difference in the middle of the run, that gives us quite a few important games. Brendan Rodgers was asked about new players coming in. He says we just have to keep working and we have to look at players. In the meantime, we need to work with the players that are here and to make them the best they can be. Celtic, where do we go from here? It's there is obviously work getting done, and there's no more strikers incoming. I'm not too sure about it. I'm not too sure. I think that there may be one striker comes in. I'm just reading some of those. Well, if they are, they're not spending it on much more, because we badly need wingers. Yeah, we do badly need wingers. I think that we all know Brendan Rodgers is fed up saying it. He keeps on reiterating the fact that we all know the positions that we need to strengthen in. We know that we need to replace certain players that have left the club. But until it happens, until we get players in the door, and until there's a medical booked, there's no point in adding to speculation, put it that way. All we can do is be thankful, because that guy could have walked. He could have said, no, I'm not signing a new deal. He could have done what so many younger players have done at Celtic and went, do you know what, I'm going to walk for nothing. And he didn't. And fair play to Johnny Kenny. Fair play to Johnny Kenny for signing an extended deal to 2029. Do you know what? He knows that there's a chance that he will go out on loan to get more game time. But he knows that he's going to come back to Celtic a more improved player. Look at the wee skinny guy that he went away on loan as. You know, when he first come into Celtic, he was just a wee skinny guy, and you're thinking, no way is this wee lad going to be spectacular for Celtic. But Celtic had high hopes, and he went away. He's grown physically. He's improved as a player. His touch in front of goal is decent. And I think just another year's experience, and bring him back to Celtic, get rid of Adamida in a year's time, and then you've got a striker that's going to be settled for another couple of years, and he could be your main striker for Celtic. Better stay out the Champions League, boys. That's our squad for the season. Rush or failed bids at the end of the month, more like, yeah, it could be. But then you need to watch about how much we'll actually pay for players. We need a top striker. Absolutely delighted with the Kenny signing. For me, it's a great signing. We've let so many younger players leave the club that have been around the same age as them, and they've walked away for absolutely nothing. This is a bonus for Celtic. He is in the last year of his contract. There was a bid put in for him. Let's look at the positives for a change. For me, I think it's something we've not had a lot of things to be happy about or be over the moon with or be excited about over the last week and a half at least, since Shin Yamada come in. I think that getting that deal done is a great piece of business, personally. As I stated before, Rodgers' greatest fan, but as a tactician, was given he was okay for his new signs, and I have no doubt. I did say at the beginning of the week we should postpone the Livingston game. This could bite us on the arse. Scott, you did, and I still think, a lot of people are still thinking that Bratislava are going to win the tie in the second round. It should have been 2-0. It should have been more than 2-0. Do you know, Bratislava were lucky to get away with a 1-0 win. Having watched the game, their keeper saved them tremendously the first half, and I think that they were lucky to get away with. If it was 2-0, I think they would have been lucky to get away with a 2-0 win. I just can't see where David Strelic's going to burst into form. They were too good defensively. They closed down in the midfield. Seemingly they're not that great at travelling, but I think they've got a little bit of momentum going, more than what Slovan Bratislava. But then that game will take care of itself. And if it is the case that we don't postpone the Livingston game, it's going to be something else for the players, that's for sure. This is our lot. We need quality. Brendan Rodgers has been saying it for months. Don't blame him if he doesn't sign a new contract. The board are in self-destruct mode again. Graham says that Brendan Rodgers is part of the problem, so weak as a manager. Do you think he's weak as a manager? Who would be able to come in, Graham? Who would be able to come in and be more commanding? Any manager that comes in now at Celtic. I've said this before. Celtic had the day that Dominic Mackay and Ange Postecoglou did the interview, right? Think way back then. I know it was a long time ago now, but when Dominic Mackay and Ange Postecoglou sat and did that interview together, it was a new dawn, and everybody was like, "Yes, do you know, it's out with the old, in with the new." And now we're just back to where we were in 2019. You've got people running the club that worked under Peter Lawwell. They work the same way as Peter Lawwell. We've went back to 2019. It's as if we didn't learn the lessons of the COVID season. It's as if Dominic Mackay was chased out the club after about 2 or 3 months, and it was put out that he went for another job. He was chased out the club because he wasn't prepared to run the club the way that, he was looking at a better way of running the club, a more worldwide look at players. He bought right into the Ange Postecoglou ethos of starting off small and building things up, and if it means spending more on players and turning players over from 10 million to 20 to 30 million, so be it. That's the way that the club needs to go. But there was a certain power struggle within the club that went, oh, wait a minute, we've ran the club perfectly fine the way we've done for the last 20 years, mate. You didn't be coming in here with your rugby ideas, and I know that you might have turned Scottish rugby into something else and all the rest of it, and your business acumen's there, but no, we've settled the way that we want to run the club, and I think that we've digressed. Stop classing Rodgers as a hero. The Slavic Cow says, let's stop classing Rodgers as a hero. We're living in a different world from Jinky and Steen. No player or manager should be treated as a hero when we're working on millions a year for a wage. Interesting. Football Life says, it's ridiculous how thick this board is. There's still a lot of negativity. Has a lot of... to be fair, Baz Kenny's record in Europe was good. Scott, I think that he will be a better player than Adam Ida. And ultimately, see if he's sold for 10 million in 4 years' time. Nobody's going to sit and go, oh, remember when he signed that extension contract and we had Adam Ida. Nobody's going to be even worried about it. Craig says the board has seriously pickled his... What's positive, Baz, says Dave. No, I've not been drinking at all. I just think that it's a young player. you've all got this negativity about it. What's positive about it? What's positive? We've got a young player that wants to be at the club and has signed a new extension. He could have done what every good young player that has left Celtic over the last 4 seasons has done. Run down their contract and walked out the door for nothing. So, of course it's good news. Of course it's a positive. And if you can't see that, you need to take your head out of the sand and think about what's happened in the club in the last 4 years and how many good players have walked away for absolutely nothing. Because the fact that this guy wants to stick around is fantastic news for me. Absolutely fantastic. Our signings have been underwhelming. We're supposed to see Kenny extend his contract is awesome. Not good enough for Celtic. We're going backwards. Kenny will score goals easy. Puts in a good shift. Definitely impressed with it through games. Yep. More positive news. Keep being positive. Exactly, Mark. You get it. You get it. It's for me. It's a good news story, and there's been very little good news stories. I mean, if Inamura is our left back, and that's a good news story, well, we're going backwards. If bringing in Shin Yamada at 1 million is the highlight of our summer, do you know, it's not really. For me, having youth players that are committed to doing everything for Celtic, I think it's a bit of good news. Dermot needs to sell his shares, and he's a lazy trash shareholder. Celtic Kenny signing a new deal. I'm 50-50. It's an interesting one. Where's the Dave Morton's still like, where's the positives? Where's the positive? Shambles, Dave Morton. Dave Morton, you need to like just chill out, mate. It's not rocket science. We need a striker as soon as possible. We haven't seen Shin Yamada play. Do you know, he's meant to be faster than Kyogo Furuhashi. Maybe we're just keeping him to unleash him on certain teams within the SPFL, and everybody's going to go, boom. If Shin Yamada comes in and scores a hat-trick the first game, every single one of yous that are out there with the negative comments, with all your negative comments, if Shin Yamada scores a hat-trick the first game, you'll be coming on the channel saying Celtic are absolutely genius, he's a fantastic player, well done the board. Oh, Jesus. But as the only positive, Kenny's extension, we'll get a couple of million now when we sell him. Exactly. Do you know, when you look at the money, if Ben Doak gets sold for 20 million, it's a slap in the face. But Johnny Kenny decides to stay at Celtic, and it's not good news. It's like, come on now, you can't have it both ways. You can't moan about players, younger players leaving the club and going elsewhere. And when one of the younger guys does sign an extension, it's not fucking no big deal. So what? It's pish. So fucking what? That's no good news. Oh my goodness. Home score. Kenny scores the winner on Sunday. I think he will. It will take more games for players to gel. Aberdeen game on Sunday. Interesting when it starts. I said this morning that Johnny Kenny would start this game, and I think that the signing the new contract. How many times has a player signed a new contract and then went out and signed or scored a goal the next game? But then again, there's people that have signed contracts and played absolutely rubbish the next couple of games. So anyway. But wait and see. I'm not saying anything against Kenny signing, but we should be signing real quality players instead of just selling our own. Well, Brendan Rodgers has spoke about it, and the fact that he says that there's no new imminent signings, and the fact that he kind of jumped to the defence of the board, saying that Paul Tisdale and his team are working extremely hard. I think Brendan Rodgers has given Paul Tisdale and his team, and then the fact that he mentioned Paul, he said Paul and his team are working extremely hard in the background, trying to get us players in. It's when they then go to the board, and the board go, Nah, I'm not going to pay that. I'm not paying the 5 million. We'll pay 3 maximum. And it's like, fuck's sake, mate. Let's just get the player in. But the board, and this could be pressure for. Here is a thought for you, right? Are the board now bowing to pressure? And let's do should have done a poll for this. Are the board bowing to pressure from the fans? The fans complained about paying over the odds for Adam Ida and Arnie Engels. Are the board now taking that on board and saying, we're not wanting the fans to get pissed off with us paying too much, so now we're just going to go and lowball? It could be the fans' fault that the board are now acting like this. I'm just saying. Anyway, looks decent. Benji looks exciting. Yamada look good. Wait and see. We'll see if I'm. Hard to be positive when Rodgers has ruined everything. Ange done for us, and his signings and tactics have made us weaker. He is Tony Mowbray level. No, listen, that is absolutely wash. He was more successful his first time round than Ange was. And all the good that Ange did, look at all the shite players that Ange also left us with. So. And Ange couldn't wait to go out the door. And Ange Postecoglou told our leaders that he wanted away from Celtic before kick-off time in the stadium at Hampden. But he's some kind of god. He told our owner and Peter Lawwell in the stadium at Hampden before kick-off that he wanted to leave. Whether we win, lose or draw the game, he told them before the game kicked off, I'm going to go and speak to Spurs. But yous have all got him as some kind of hero. And still fucked us as well. Yeah, he did. He fucked us right over. Alistair Johnson signed a new long-term deal and then scored his very next game. Exactly, Scott. And I think that Johnny Kenny will start this game this weekend. I think he'll start the game this weekend, and I think that he'll score a double. Wait and see. I was happy to see Ange leave. Flange. See, a lot of people like different types of managers at Celtic. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers said, we got off to the best possible start last weekend with a 1-0 win over St Mirren. He says, we've already got 3 points on the board. That's all that matters. He said, the last time Celtic visited Aberdeen, it was a 5-1 victory. However, Aberdeen bounced back and won the Scottish Cup final. We did absolutely wash the floor with them a couple of times last season. Ahead of this week's match, Brendan Rodgers said after the at the press conference today, he said, look, after the defeat, we need to get this team as motivated as possible. The cup final was hard because we know how disappointing it was for so many people on so many levels. But also, it gave the players something else to think about. I felt sad for them at first because they were on the verge of winning the treble, and that would have been an interesting way to end the season. But we have a core group of players who understand what it means to play for Celtic. Now what we do is we have to renew that motivation. I'm excited because now it's going to go up to Pittodrie, says Brendan, and it says, along with my staff, we've got the drive to win the game. We've got the mentality. We've got the standards. We need to create that on the pitch. We need to find a way to motivate these players and get them to commit what we do. That's ongoing every day on the training pitch. He then went on to talk about, in the press conference, about Johnny Kenny. He spoke about the transfer window. He spoke about the Champions League up and coming round. He spoke about the team's mentality, the Callum McGregor, and lots of other things. But at the end of the day, it's a good news day because Johnny Kenny signed an extended deal, and I don't care what anybody says. The game against St Mirren was dreadful. And we need to get Sinn Féin Yamada on the pitch. Yeah, we do. Anyway, that is us done and dusted for this afternoon. People think it's not a great piece of business. I think it's a fantastic piece of business. Getting him tied up to 2029 it means that anybody who comes in for him, it's going to cost him 2 or 3 million to buy minimum at the current level. If he goes away this season and he gets even better, comes back to Celtic and starts scoring 20 goals a season, we have just saved £10 million in the transfer market. And if that's not good news, I don't know what is. On that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, all around the world.